This is J. Krishnamurti's ninth discussion with students in Malibu, California, 1969.
We were talking last time about discipline and freedom. And what shall we talk? What shall we talk over together today?
It seems to me that we've been talking mainly about two things during these meetings. One, the state of freedom, and the other one, the state of the mind as it is for most people. And you've talked about in between these two, about observing, about maybe that being the way or something like that to make the mind free. And I wonder if you could talk about that some more.
The way, how the mind should be free?
The observing, I remember.
The observer. Is that it? The observer and the observed?
Well, I remember last weekend I asked you what was between these two. I mean, like, I lived most of my life in a state where the fear and the pleasure and the pain and whatnot. And we've talked about that quite a bit. Paul. And how that isn't freedom. And then we talk about freedom. I'd like to talk about what's in between the two.
I don't quite get what you mean, do you?
He means perhaps what is it which can transform bondage or conflict into freedom? What happens to bondage? What happens to conflict so that freedom results? Is that what you mean? What is the passage from conflict to freedom?
Oh, what is the passage from conflict to freedom? Is that it?
Yes. Does freedom ever know that it's free, sir?
What is conflict? How do I know, and when do I know I'm in conflict?
Two different things, I can't have them both.
When there's pain, sir.
I said, don't reduce it to just one word, then we're caught. Let's explore it a little bit. What is conflict? When am I conscious of this conflict?
When you're trying to achieve something and are unable to find the proper end.
Yes, and also opposing desires.
Opposing desire.
Opposing purposes. Having to choose fear and pain, as we went into. And when am I conscious of? Am I really ever conscious of pain and pleasure? Or is it only I'm conscious of it when it is over, when it is past? Now, before we go into all that, how do I know I'm in conflict? And what do we mean by conflict? Let's come to talk about it a little bit. What do we mean by conflict? contradiction, self-contradiction, opposing desires, the conflict between what is and what should be. The achievement and the frustration in not being able to achieve. Fear and pleasure. The conflict between the opposites, and so on. All that constitutes conflict. The individual and the community, the division between the human and the collective conceptual activity, the division and between the observer and the observed. Right, sir? All this, I think, breeds conflict. No? Then how am I to go beyond this contradiction, this division between the observer and the observed, this opposing desires, which is really opposing of wills, I will do this, I will not do that, and so on. Now, how is the mind to be free of all this? Is that right, sir? That's what we say, huh? Right. And if there is conflict, mind must be distorted. Mind must be distorted. Conflict is distortion, right?
Why is it distorted?
Huh?
If there's conflict, why is the mind distorted?
Why does mind distorted?
Yeah.
Why do you think?
Can I see the conflict clearly?
No. We said there must be distortion when there is conflict. No?
Of course.
I don't know, I mean, that seems so obvious.
When there's conflict, there's anxiety, and the mind is under
Anxiety, fear, guilt,
Everything.
The whole thing. Any form of conflict, disturbance, activity which is between the idea and action, all that is a form of conflict, and therefore it is a distortion, right? Now, if that is so, how is the mind to be free of all this? Can it ever be free?
Must be.
If it is not free, it'll remain within the trap always.
You're asking then, how can it be free of itself?
We're going into it.
Conflict is made of the mind, is it not?
We'll go into it. Please,
Well,
let's be
there
clear.
is-
There is no teacher and the taught here. There is no authority. We're just going into it, each one of us to find out. Otherwise, we'll never, if you depend on somebody, we'll never find anything. So,
Conflict is made of the mind.
All right, so if conflict is the result of thought, you mean by that? Mind is thought. Then what? What am I to do? I think all the time.
Is it the result of thought or is it the thinking itself? There's a difference.
Yeah, is it the result of thinking or thought itself is conflict? Which is the mind itself breeds conflict. Mind itself is the source of conflict. The thing is not separate, right? So what is one to do?
You should consider the nature of thought then.
Go into this or find out. Nature of thought, structure, nature of thought.
Liable to get lost if we do too much of that sort of thing.
Even if I do, then what happens? What am I to do with it? What is the mind to do with itself? Which is the poison, which is the the thing that is the central factor of disorder, which is contradiction, which is conflict, and so on and so on. Thought is fairly simple to analyze and look. No? If we go into that, we did the other day.
It's quite simple.
Huh? It's fairly simple. Memory, responsive memory, and that goes on all the time. Now, one of the factors is, can the mind be silent and yet live in this world?
So I understand that at the time when we look at the tree and we have no identification between us and the tree, there's no distance between us and the tree, that at that moment the mind is quiet then.
So are you stating a fact?
I'm stating something that I've experienced.
Are you stating a fact which is actual to you, or supporting a theory which you have heard?
No.
You follow what I mean?
Absolutely.
Then there is no value.
No, absolutely. For a few times it was a theory, and then I became involved directly with it. And I looked at the tree, and there was no screen between me and the tree, and there was no distance between me and the tree. There was no identification of the tree, of a color or size or shape or time.
Now, that's fairly simple. Now, the problem then is, can
I do that all the time?
No, don't ever. Now, what do you mean all the time?
Well, I mean with any situation that I'm faced with. I mean, is it something that I turn off? I mean, I wasn't aware of it until after the fact. Do you understand?
Yeah.
When I looked at the tree, I wasn't aware that suddenly there was no distance between me and the tree. Only when I looked away, I realized there was nothing between me and the tree. I was the tree. I know that sounds. Well, I know what I'm saying, but
I understand.
I'm being clear. This.
Those who have taken drugs say, including the very clever ones, the distance between the observer and the observed disappears. Space disappears. And so the intensity of the color, of the shape, of the beauty, of the feel, of the quality of it is heightened tremendously. It becomes extraordinary. I have taken it, I don't propose to take it. But is that what you mean when you say the tree the distance between you and the tree disappears, and therefore the tree is something much more alive, more, intense. Everything is much closer. Is that what you mean?
Well, I've experienced both. That's not what I mean. But the two things they're not alike.
They're not, yes.
They don't come together here. And what I'm trying to say is not, otherwise we could go around popping drugs all the time.
Yeah, no, that's
and
of
have
course.
direct perception of all of our
Yes.
problems. No. What I feel is that this state of mind is one of meditation, a meditative state of mind. What I don't know is, can the mind be...
That word meditation is a rather difficult word.
Very difficult word.
Very difficult word. Let's go softly about it. So what? That's comparatively easy, I should think, to see a tree without all the verbal screen, the image, the memory interfering with it and all that.
Yes, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Now, can I do the same with myself when I'm tremendously frightened or guilty or anxious or a division of contradiction in myself? Can I then understand the same phenomenon taking place in me?
If I can keep my mind quiet.
No.
What do you mean, sir? Can I understand the same phenomenon?
That is...
Can I look at myself...
without the space.
Yes. So what do you mean by that space? You don't mean a physical space. You mean
No.
a space of interference, a space of...
That's right.
It's saying it's different from me, the space of pushing it away or wanting to bring it closer.
That's right. Try
The
to
space
transcend it, try to control it, try to avoid it, try
In
to
fact-
interpret it, try to condemn it, try to overcome it, go beyond it, escape. All that business, which is when there is an intense problem, intense anxiety.
Doesn't that space exist in fact? Every time we are aware of a thing as being something rather delineated, something rather circumscribed. When we focus on anything, when we say this microphone, then there is already that space. That has no emotional content when we say this
So
microphone.
let us avoid space for the moment,
Yes.
that word too,
Yes.
because that brings in quite a lot of,
Away from meditation.
No, I don't want to use those two words. It's rather difficult. Otherwise, if we do use it, I'm not saying we shouldn't, then we have to go into the question of what really is meditation, right?
Yes.
And what do we mean by space?
Yes.
Yes.
Space
Just
there is
space.
between you and me, physically. There's space, I mean, it's really a very complex thing, this space. So, let us avoid for the moment those two words. I'm trying to find out, sir. I am in conflict. As everyone is in conflict. Now, is it possible to be free completely of all conflict? And therefore, action never being contradictory. Doing something which is not contradicted by another action or another desire, another thought, another wish, and so on, so on, so on. Which doesn't mean I'm consistent.
No.
I don't, this very rather
To be
complex.
consistent
I mean,
itself would be
terrible.
A conflict, because one would then have to be consistent.
I mean, that's a terrible idea.
Yes,
It comes at a dead stop.
yes.
So, but I'm saying that all that's implied, realizing all this, what is the mind to do?
Nothing.
What do you mean by that, sir?
Well, if you make an attempt to remove yourself, you're in a state of struggle. If you make an attempt to ignore it, it's
Yes.
a state of struggle.
Can I do nothing?
Well, by looking at the tree.
Tree, understand, here I am. I have a problem. My wife has left
But the
me.
formula is
My
the same,
wife has
isn't it?
left me.
The formula is the same. The problem, the variance is different.
Hold on. My wife has left me. This is a tremendous problem to me. I'm jealous, angry, lonely, frustrated. I've depended on her. And the whole thing it's an earthquake, it's a shock, it is a bouleversement. Tremendous thing has happened to me. Now, how am I to be free of it? Not just blindly free or become indifferent, become callous or cynical, but to be so free that I come out of it, the mind comes out of it with a joy, with a freshness, with you, all the rest of it. How am I to do it? You work it out.
I'd like to ask if that's a healthy reaction.
Which?
To come out of a situation
No,
like that.
I said, look.
Joy.
She's a wife, sir.
No. I'm saying, look, jealousy. I'm jealous. That's a most unhealthy reaction. Because I hate the person. I hate her. I'm angry. All that is most abnormal. Though it's accepted as being normal, it's most abnormal. I've depended on her, and it's a terrible thing to discover how dependent I am, how slavish I am. All that makes me ache, and I discover how terribly lonely I am. I've used her, sexually exploited her, all the rest of it. So I've suddenly discovered all this, and I'm horrified. If I'm at all sensitive, going into it, I see this. So I say, my God, what am I to do?
You just have to face the fact of that.
Now
don't
what?
you?
Go ahead, sir. Go into it. I want to be at the end of it.
do
No,
anything
wait, sir.
about it.
I want to be at the end of it free.
Not at the end of it, sir.
No, sorry, I won't.
Because the end of it might be, at the end of it we are free, but it takes an awful long time.
I
One
must.
wants to be free at the beginning
I
of it, immediately.
I have no patience with this thing for myself. To find myself dependent on a person, right? With all the implications involved in it. So I say, help me to get out, to understand it, go beyond it, so that I'm free of that dependence.
You can't go beyond it, sir, unless you face it.
Tell
Unless
me
you are
what to,
just that,
sir.
unless you are jealous. Say
Tell
it's
me what
jealousy.
to do.
You should look at it.
Now, how?
Not try to escape
No,
from the
right,
jealousy.
understood. Now, you say look at it. How am I to look at it? Now, you are doing it, not me.
And I'm not even married.
No, man, you are dependent.
I'm dependent.
People are dependent, either on people or on environment, circumstances, furniture, house, doesn't matter what it is.
Well, I see that I've
Certain
created
habits.
a problem. I've created this conflict, obviously, through my dependency. I've used my wife. I thought I loved her, and
Now, yes, sir,
so
but
forth.
here I am.
and here I am.
What am I to do? I don't want to
And
escape.
I'm at the point now where I see all this.
Yes.
I
Do
understand.
I see it?
Do I see it?
Well, not if you're feeling upset about it and jealous about it, and if it affects you. Then you don't really see it. do
Oh,
you?
yes, you do. That's what you see.
Well, You're not seeing it. You're seeing your reactions to it. You're seeing your interpretation of it. You're seeing your image of it.
Sir, you know what it means, seeing something? That's what I want to stick to. Let's stick to that. What do we mean by seeing something? I see my brother is dead.
That's a fact.
In that, there is tremendous things are involved. Wave after wave of sorrow for him and sorrow for myself, self-pity, saying, my God, I am left, I am that. I am not separate from that, I am that. Right? Now, tell me, how do I see that thing? I don't want to escape. I don't want to condemn it, judge it, all the rest of it. I am there. I am that. What? How am I to face it?
Do you have to face it?
He said so.
But he said so.
I don't know. I'm
just asking another question.
I'm doing it. Somebody says something to me. I want to find out. I don't say, well, that's rubbish. I want to find out what it means to face something. Not escape, not, all that business. How am I to face this thing?
Well, if you're facing it right now, and I'm seeing it right now, and I see that I've created this condition of conflict, and I see why I'm unhappy.
Yeah.
Then, is it that I should go about my life then from this moment on, making sure that I don't create those problems again?
No, I'm not interested again. Here, I'm left with this problem. You see what?
Yes.
And if you say I must not create it again, I'm going to somehow build a wall of resistance against future invasion.
So I can't think in terms of tomorrow about it.
Therefore,
I can't think in terms
I
of
said
future.
that's an escape.
Right.
So I'm left with this thing, and you told me to face it. I said there is some truth in this matter. To look at it. How do I do it?
Well, I can't get involved with it. I can't analyze it. I can't resolve it in terms of itself, because if I try to, I'm just becoming it all over again. I can't think about it analytically. We've said that.
We went into that the other day. Right. Then what am I to do? You can't leave me with it. You follow?
Yes.
You can't just, well, my chap, work it out. I want to. I want to, because you're a friend of mine, I come to you and say, look, I have this terrible problem. What am I to do?
I'm not sure if someone else can tell you what to do.
La. If you can tell me, why not?
Well, because...
And look, why not?
Why can't I tell you?
Yes. Why shouldn't you tell me?
Because the telling isn't the same thing as it.
No, of course not.
But he wouldn't see it.
No, wait, sir. I want to find out.
Because
why shouldn't I ask you? Why shouldn't you tell me? I ask you which is the way to Malibu. Wouldn't you have kindness to tell me?
You.
Why not? In the same way, I ask you.
He knows the way to Malibu.
Right,
He doesn't know your brother.
No, I'm not interested. This is a human problem. Basic human problem. Death.
If he at the moment is witnessing that problem within himself, he may be able to manifest that.
Either he has faced it, wait a minute, or it's a speculative, it hasn't happened to him, and wait till it happens to him, and then he will tell me. I said, for God's sake.
Maybe you asked the wrong
It's quite possible to understand something, even if it hasn't
That's
happened
what
to
I
you.
want to find out. Want you to tell me.
You understand it. You can see. If
Therefore,
a
you
child
tell
comes to you
me.
and he's got toothache, you know exactly.
Yes,
You haven't
therefore,
got toothache at the
therefore
moment,
you
but
don't
You have toothache.
No, you may never have had it, but
Where
you
does
can
that
understand.
intelligence come from then, if you're so intelligent?
Perhaps
and
that's
you
another
understand it?
question, but the point is it's perfectly possible to understand what someone else is going through.
But I'm still not sure you can tell somebody else how to look at it. Or how
No,
to
sir.
do about it. Or, yeah, what to do
No,
about it.
then what's the point of communication?
Well, you can talk together, you can... Exactly.
Well,
Communicate.
communication isn't just words. for
No,
one. And-
it's look, communication isn't word. All right, commune with me about this problem.
And we're doing that.
You can you can commune by by stillness.
Tell me.
By stillness. I don't have to tell you. I mean, it's something. It's if one is still, if I'm still.
I don't know how to be
If
still.
your friend's wife leaves him and you just say, I can't say a thing to you, I can't do a thing for you, let's be still. You go away.
No, okay, we can't.
And that would be unnatural. That would be...
No, sir. You see, you are telling me learn by observation, right? You don't have it told by another. Learn.
Oh, yeah.
See it as you go along, right? Therefore, the other is unimportant, right?
I don't what's the other? I missed it.
Learn by observing for yourself. Guru is not necessary. I quite agree with you. But I don't know how to look. I don't know what it means to learn. I'm so exhausted in this conflict. You follow?
Well, for one, I would have to tell you, it seems, that, like from my own experience, I can see that you have to be sure yourself that all the other alternatives are impossible.
No, sir.
Well,
look, must I go through every experience, like death, jealousy, envy, brutality, violence, anxiety, conflict between myself and the community, and so on? Must I go through all these experiences?
it would never satisfy the person because he's in pain at that time. He doesn't want to wait to go through all those.
Then what? No, you see, you're not meeting my point.
There's no way that he could resolve his problems one by one, because then.
I'm quite sure.
Yes, I think I am.
No.
Because
yes, I am.
No,
quite
wait,
sure.
sir. Let's finish. He's asking. Look,
That,
must
there
I
is
go?
no time.
Must I go through all experience one by one, and then at the end of it, I say, "By Jove, I'm enlightened."
Do you have to believe you?
That's impossible.
You don't have enough time. There's
And
not
of
enough
course not. I have no time. By then, I'm dead. My brain has given way.
For one, you don't have to go through all those experiences.
So you are telling me, what?
You don't have-
But let's see, sir, go step. One experience contains the whole of the experiences, right?
The process does.
No. Don't. One experience, serious, sufficiently, you've given sufficient attention to it, gone into it. When you understand the whole one experience totally, then you have understood all experience. Is that what you're telling me?
That's not what I'm telling you, no.
Why
That's
not?
a theory.
Why
Because
don't
it
you
seems
tell
to-
me that?
Because it seems to be a theory to me.
Why?
Because the minute you say one experience is all experience,
I don't say that. See,
Okay.
no, sir, you don't. If I have to go through every experience to achieve wisdom, enlightenment, freedom, and all the rest of it, then it's impossible.
Yes.
Wait, it's impossible, right?
right.
Therefore, you are telling me one experience, old boy, look at it, go into it so completely. You see the whole world of experience.
To understand one is to understand
One experience is to understand everything else. I feel that way. You're telling me that. I say, all right, I see the logic of it. I see the reason of it. Now tell me how to do it. What am I to do with that statement, which happens to be true? Must I get drunk?
No.
Wait, sir, look. Must I get drunk to find out what sobriety is? Can't I know what it is to be sober without getting drunk?
Because that's comparison. So.
No. Leave comparison.
Okay.
Look at it. So, what am I to do with this question of death or jealousy, living my dependency? We take these two, death and dependency, so that if I understand dependency completely, I've understood the whole thing. Right?
Right.
Now, show me. Help me.
Do we take these one at
I would have to
a
use.
time?
I'm having to use words, and I say.
I want you to. Otherwise, you're telling me to
so
sit
then-
quiet, and I say I'll sit quiet for 5 minutes, and I'm back again.
Learning
So-
it's a process. This is a process. It's not an experience. To me, it's a process.
No, sir, let's complicate this here. I'm in this state. I depend terribly. And I have found through that dependence I'm lonely, I'm miserable, I have no companion, and all that is involved in dependency. Fear, pleasure. And
So does that mean that we are saying all conflict is dependence?
no, we define...
So today we talk about dependence. My wife has left me. We go into it and we understand it. Tomorrow it's something else.
No.
But
So
If
we
I
started
say-
off by talking
No.
about conflict as the same nut. So let's perhaps
Same thing, sir.
We're going
if
back.
we go
to
into
what-
dependence,
what-
and then
what-
tomorrow we'll have to go into ambition, and then the next day we'll have to go into.
Right. So I'm taking...
now
I
we
am
take
taking
dependence,
that
but,
one thing...
But so perhaps that's not enough to go into the one after the other.
No, I
like
don't.
Picking cherries.
No. I want to take
say
this
that.
one thing and see if in that one experience, the totality of all experience doesn't lie in it.
All human.
Yeah. And therefore, if I understand it, I've understood the whole verse.
So the question is how to understand it.
That, show me.
I, for one, don't think I'm ready to understand dependency as one thing, because if I get so close to it that I can start seeing what it really is, I turn away.
Who are you in relation to the dependence that you've created? You've created a feeling of dependency, and your wife has left you, and now you're stuck with it. And
No,
how
my
do
wife
you
has left
understand-
me, and I discover by watching myself that I'm dependent, right? Now, that dependency has shown me the interrelated problems involved, fear, loneliness, and so on, so on. I say, habit, all that. Now, if I could really understand it, go into it so completely, the mind may be free of it, and therefore free of the whole, network of interrelated problems.
Then you'd have to think of your relationship with all of those things, your relationship with the whole thing.
Would you
What
have to
whole
think
thing?
about it?
What whole thing?
If you're in the midst
What
of
whole
it,
thing?
I mean, the
and you're
network of
affected by it,
problems we're talking about.
how do you see it?
Oh no, we're just
That
talking
just
about
takes-
one
So his
specific
wife's
problem
left
here.
you, and now she's left. And
If
now
you're there
goodbye
with
and
a
thank you.
problem, and you're
And,
jealous and angry and upset and sorry and sympathetic for yourself and so forth, how do you...
The trouble might be in
You're drowning. How do you get breath? You're already drowning. Doesn't that have to...
You can't make yourself understand, sir.
No, sir.
Understanding must come. And
All right, put it in your own way. What is the state of the mind in which understanding comes, to which understanding comes? How?
It's
Was
silent.
And don't you then show me how to be silent?
But you can't make yourself be silent. You can't make the mind be silent.
Then what am I to do? Then what is the mind to do?
What happens if I realize it and can't do anything about it?
Wait. If I can't do anything about it, how do you realize that you cannot possibly do anything about it, because whatever you do is another form of dependence, right?
Well, and they can't do anything about it. It's the same thing as seeing it.
I don't know. I'm taking up the... Don't reduce everything one word.
But we're not there yet. At least I'm not, because when I see a problem like dependency, I always want to do something about it. And I think we keep trying to do something about it because we think we can, and therefore we don't really understand it. We don't
All right,
really
sir.
see it.
Shall we go into that little bit? Which is, whatever the mind does with regard to the problem which we are discussing, which is dependence, whatever it does, creates another form of dependence.
You mean whatever solution it runs to?
Or
whether it's
whatever its activity with regard to that problem is to further that problem.
Well, for example, if you were to wipe it out completely with drugs, you're then dependent on drugs.
Of course. Or some other woman.
Or psychologist.
That's not true if the mind goes into dependence to find out about dependence, is it?
You can never go into a thing completely because it's infinite in its corridors and its...
All right, sir. May I go into it step by step, millimeter by millimeter, and you not verbally listen to it, but actually do it as we go along. Can we do this?
Yes.
Right, let's do it. Which is, I am dependent. I find myself dependent on a person. What's wrong with it? Why shouldn't I be?
Because if anything happens to that person, then...
Yeah, what are you? Where are you?
Wait, sir, look, why shouldn't I be? All right, that was something I have pain, and I say, let's go, I depend on somebody else. This is what we are doing all the time, you follow? My wife has left me and I find another woman, and then so on.
Somebody else's.
Somebody else's one, all right.
It's a matter of replacement.
Matter of replacement, all right.
If you depend on somebody, you dominate them.
Yeah, they dominate
Must
you.
you be dependent?
You're never free
on anything?
You use them to escape from yourself.
Yes, I use them to protect myself.
Then you must be dependent on yourself.
And no, wait, don't look, go into it, sir. Find out, learn about it.
Well, the question was, is dependency
I find that I am dependent on my wife, or on some book, or on some country, or, dependent. And in looking at it, through the shock of my wife losing, or the environment being pulled away, taken away from me and so on, I look at it. I watch it, I observe it. And as I observe it, there is self-pity, anger, jealousy, hatred, and so on. All those are involved. And also, one of the deeper things which makes me dependent is my loneliness, right? Right?
Yes.
Go slow. Do it. I am really deeply lonely, isolated. And therefore, fearing that isolation, loneliness, I depend on this house, on the furniture, on my wife, or on somebody, on a faith, on a belief, or something or other, and then world and nation. So loneliness, right? I'm lonely. Loneliness being isolation, in which there is all relationship has come to an end. I may carry on with you and talk about it, but basically, when I'm lonely, there is absolutely no relationship with anything. I don't know, you must have experienced all that. Now, I've come to that point. I've come to that point by observing observing, investigating, learning about dependence has led me to this.
And haven't you also seen that isolation is in the mind?
Wait, sir. I'm going to find out. Don't jump to it yet. So I am isolated, lonely. That's a fact, right? Which has made me dependent. Now, can this loneliness be finished or gone through or understood so that from that I don't depend on anything anymore? Right? Now I'm faced with this loneliness. What am I to do? Don't tell me be quiet, be silent, you are, etc. That has no meaning to me. I must learn, you follow? I must understand it, I must look at it, I must feel my way into it. Now, can this emptiness, this loneliness, this sense of void be filled by anything? I fill it with my wife, you follow? I fill it with knowledge, I fill it with God, I fill it with amusement.
But it was never filled. If it had been filled, there would be no problem now.
Therefore, can it ever be filled?
Well, this void is in some way or other you.
Don't come back so quickly to it so I can reduce it. We are learning. Don't jump to any conclusion. So here I am. I find myself, I'm tremendously lonely, and I'm sought unconsciously or consciously ways and means of escaping from that loneliness. One of the ways was to depend on my wife, or to depend on drink, whatever it is, 100 different things. And I realized, by Jove, nothing can fill this, right? Therefore, I won't escape at all. Right? Can I really do that? Not verbally repeat, I won't escape, but can I really never escape from that? Yes, I'm lonely. I won't take to drink, amusement, read books, run away, sex, wife, wait, which means what? I'm living with it, right? Which means I am that. Right? It is no good saying I'm going to live with it. It doesn't mean a thing.
If I really see that I am that, the whole game is up.
Haven't
we jumped when we say so easily I am that?
Did. I'm coming to that. So I'm just asking. I am lonely. I've tried to escape from it through dependence, and I now realize that it's no good depending on anything. Therefore, because the thing remains, loneliness still remains, with that void, with that feeling of sense of isolation, non-related to anything. And I've escaped before, so I won't escape now, because I see it's no good escaping. It's there.
Has this loneliness any existence at all, sir?
I don't know. I'm going to find out.
Because It can only exist comparatively.
No?
It exists.
Therefore, it has no real existence of its own. It only exists because yesterday I didn't feel lonely. I was filled, I was happy, we laughed, etc. So therefore, if it really doesn't exist in itself, if it has only an existence because I have to invoke some other state which I remember, then the loneliness doesn't really exist at all. Then the only thing which exists is that pleasure of yesterday or the day before
Not
yesterday,
at all,
which
sir.
I call
Look, sir,
fulfillment.
Look, sir. Wait, sir. All my activity of life is a form of isolation. I am married,
Yes.
and yet I live in my ambitions,
Yes.
in my greed, in my
Even my marriage.
Everything is this isolating process. Right?
Yes, sir.
Though I tell my wife I love you, it is still me loving her.
In fact, even that makes it stronger.
And all the absurdity. Right? So. Right? So first I have learned from observing this dependency the deep factor of my complete loneliness, which has been brought about by this constant self-centered activity, which is the form of isolation, right? That's all. I won't go any further than
Yes.
that. That is what I have realized.
That is, I've brought about an actual separation between me and people. I may not even feel it as a loneliness.
No.
The people who create this separation, the great, for instance, the very ambitious people, the great businessmen, they don't necessarily feel lonely. They just crush everybody around
Of course.
So
there is I've learned. I'm not talking about the businessman. Here I am.
Whatever.
I have learned from this that all activity as it is now, which I am indulging in, leads to self-isolation.
All fulfillment.
From which I try to fulfill, and therefore back, so on, so on, so on.
That very fulfillment is self-isolation.
And from that, I realize I'm lonely. And I've also learned, don't run away from it, old boy. You can't fill that empty well. It's a bottomless pit. I've learned that. Right? Are you together?
Yes. Yes.
Then what do I do? Then what happens? I won't escape. Follow it. Escape being dependency. I won't act in self-isolating processes. Ambition, greed. You see what is all involved in it.
I've already done so. It's too late to say that.
I know. Future. I know. I've done all that. But now...
I haven't got a friend in the world, and here I sit. And my wife is left to know.
That's it, sir. I've learned all this. Look at it. Those are all events that have happened.
Yes.
But the past events has led me to this. Not a conclusion. To this fact, to this realization, to this understanding. I am there. It is me. Then I realize, what am I to do now? I'm faced with that one fact. I'm lonely. That loneliness is a form of isolation.
Is that a fact?
Oh, yes.
Isn't that an interpretation?
No. Watch it. I said, look, I have not interpreted it. This has led me to that. Looking at it, step by step, has led me to that. In my daily life, I am concerned about myself, my ambitions. I'm married, I have children, but I'm ambitious, I'm trying to fulfill, I'm trying to become a great man, I must have more. It's all me, which is a form of isolation. That isolation inevitably brings this loneliness. So that is what I am now. Right? Can you go on from there?
Yes.
not theoretically. Otherwise, if it's theory, then you lost. You begin all over again.
Our life, up until this point has been filled with answers, 1,000 answers for loneliness. When I think about facing it, what comes into my mind is just a whole stream of solutions, which are these temporary, distraction, books, movies, sex, enjoyment.
Oh, I don't want to. Until I have resolved this, I won't move. I won't let the mind seize that, and therefore remains with it with complete attention. Therefore, it won't run away. I don't know if you follow what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a dangerous snake in the room. I can't keep my eyes off it. I want to know where it is all the time. Right? I'm in that attentive state. Otherwise, I'm playing with it. Now begins the question. How do I realize that it is loneliness? Emptiness. Who tells me? Or how am I aware of it? That by using a word, loneliness, is it a fact that I'm aware of, or the word I'm aware of? I don't know if you're following all this.
Yes, that's what I mean. I think you're aware of the word.
Go slowly.
Or am I only aware of the desires to fill it, the movements to fill it?
Are we talking about some form of intelligence that has, from which you've drawn an understanding of your condition?
Sir, that's right. See what I have done. Before I was dependent, just dependent.
Yes.
Not knowing all the implications, and when my wife left, it was a shock.
And I saw the whole picture.
And I'm beginning to see what's involved in it. The seeing of it is intelligence. Right? There is intelligence operating when it looks. Right? Now I'm left with, the intelligence is left with this problem. Keep to that. Intelligence is left with this issue, which is there is loneliness and the mind wanting to do something about it. Right? It did before, took a drink, married, ran away, amusement, believed in God, joined the army. And intelligence says, don't do it. You can't do it. You're faced with it and you have done all this 100 times, you're back again. Don't be silly. So there it is. Intelligence now says, what am I to do with that emptiness it feels?
If intelligence is saying that, then you're not empty.
Wait. I haven't reached that yet. You're jumping.
The method of looking from
now
the white left
means... Look. Intelligence has come by observation. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Observing the whole map of dependence. By observing dependence, from that observation, intelligence has come. Mm-hmm. Right? Now it's still watching this loneliness and asking question, what next? Right? It hasn't resolved it.
No.
So it is there. So what's the next question?
Will that intelligence then direct me?
No, look, be careful what words we are going to use now.
Directions.
No, I just did.
Is there a next?
Is there an action?
Is there a next?
Next.
I saw that. I'm still lonely.
So then you're not intelligent at the moment.
And then you're no good telling me I'm not intelligent. You see,
No, but the moment you were going through the observation
I am
of
still
dependency, you were
wait,
intelligent.
I am just observing. Don't tell me.
But that was intelligence, you said.
Yes,
And we agree.
that means intelligence isn't totally mature yet.
No, if it were totally mature, you wouldn't be lonely.
I haven't finished.
Yes.
By learning, it's becoming mature very quickly. That's the point. You follow?
And in the learning there is
and
no
the maturity
loneliness.
is the moment you come-
There's either learning or
I
loneliness.
refuse to jump into my
Yeah, well,
words.
that's the next logical.
Then there's no next step.
There is. I'll show you. Look, sir. Going to show you, watch it. You see, don't come to any conclusion. That's all I'm objecting to.
But the next step is
No,
the
I
conclusion.
don't come to any conclusion. Start as though you have just learned something.
Yes.
Right, sir?
Yes.
You have just learned something extraordinary,
Which
is from a very simple fact of dependence you have uncovered all this.
loneliness.
You come to
The
that.
isolation.
And all that you've learned all that. Therefore, now, what are you going to learn more in there? There's something more to be learned. Can't just say, well, I've learned everything. Because you'll be next minute lonely.
Is the question, should you be free from loneliness or free from dependence?
No.
Same thing.
They're all the same.
Exactly.
The dependence is the result of the loneliness. Is the rocks we put into the well.
Well, we don't want to be free from results, we want to be free from the action.
Except that we're not interested anymore in the dependence. We're on the loneliness now. The emptiness. The dependence is
So,
already...
if I am completely not dependent on anything, I'm finished, I have no problem. My wife leaves me, doesn't leave me, you follow this, the whole thing has a different texture, nature, quality.
It becomes hard for me because the loneliness and dependence, or whatever word you want to call it, is much bigger than anything. It's that I have to stand up.
That's right. So I am learning. You follow? Right. I'm learning, and mind has come to the point that by observing this whole map of dependency, loneliness,
And isolation.
isolation,
Trying to
or
fill it.
emptiness,
We've
feeling.
just gotten down to the root.
That's all. That's all. Stay
filled.
there. Stay
And that
there.
it cannot be filled.
Stay there. Stay there. We got to the root of it, right?
Yes.
You also said it cannot be filled.
Of course, cannot be filled. I've got to the root of it.
It's
If we really believe it cannot
Ah,
be
no,
filled,
no.
Not
There's no
okay,
question of
if we really
belief.
see that it cannot be filled,
Huh?
if we really see that it cannot be filled, and therefore there's no action to be taken about the loneliness,
Now, wait, sir. When do you see it? That's what I'm trying to get at. When does the mind say, by Jove, I've seen this whole thing, it's over. I won't escape, I'm not alone. You follow?
In a way, you've reached a point of forgiveness, haven't you? You've forgiven.
Oh, my wife, no, that's gone
Forgiveness
long
doesn't
ago.
forget, that's all.
She can run with 100 men if she wants. I don't care.
When you have to forgive, then the whole thing is...
And then I'm finished with all that.
I see.
Go on, sir, go on. Pursue. I have used her. Follow?
Mm-hmm.
I've used the nationality. I've used everything for this self-centered activity which ultimately has led me to this isolation, to this emptiness, to this void, to this loneliness. That's all. I see this thing very clearly now. I can't go back to it. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
I can't say, well, I'll marry and depend on somebody. It's finished, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Completely finished, not just verbally. It's over. Now I'm stuck with this.
With what, sir?
Escaping, running after another woman, getting married.
You say I finished with all that.
Dependence. I may marry, but it won't
be... If I
be...
finished with dependence, then I finished with loneliness.
No. You haven't understood. Sorry. He asked the question. I'm still left with the problem of my wife leaving. That's gone.
Yes.
Therefore, that's what I'm saying. So I'm left with this. What is my next question? Do I feel, does the mind still feel lonely? Does the mind still act in a self-centered way, and therefore isolation and depend, all that begin again?
Well, you've sounds as though you've killed off your self-centered activity.
I don't know anything. I didn't say that.
Well, can we do that?
Exactly.
The mind stops moving.
Exactly. You follow?
Yeah.
Because any action at all with regard to loneliness will inevitably strengthen it. Because opposites
I don't
contain
know,
each
sir.
other.
I'm not going to accept any words, any description, any conclusion. I've left with this fact: loneliness, self-centered activity, right, which has brought about isolation. They're caught in that trap. Now, is there anything more to learn from in that trap, or about that trap?
But if I've killed off, may I presume that I've seen this, and I've had a realization of what I've suffered and how. And I realize that it's been a consequence of self-centered activity. Call it that. Then if it isn't, if I will not continue, and I've put that away once and for all, I recognize it, and I understand. Then does it? Then where am I? What is the next sensation that comes over me? Is it more loneliness? Is it more?
Go into it.
More
find out. Find out.
Sir, doesn't not giving way to dependence, like if I turn to sex or gluttony or something like this, to turn from the loneliness, doesn't, like, okay, if I say that I'm not going to do that and going to face the loneliness, that brings such conflict.
Which is in operation now? Just what I'm asking a question. Wait, which is in operation? Intelligence or the fear of emptiness?
Both.
No.
Let him search his problem.
At this instant, right now?
Yeah, yes. All right. Put it. What is in operation?
Or do you mean like when the example when loneliness comes up and I want to turn to dependence?
When we've come to the point that we've reached in this discussion, he says, what happens when we've come to this point in the discussion? When we've come to this point in the looking at loneliness, what is the state of one's mind? Wife has left you, you look at it, you see everything what she said.
If you have fear for the loneliness, then you'll go back and repeat the action of isolation.
So, look, is it the fear of loneliness? Is it the fear of loneliness that is operating now, or intelligence which has come into being after observing this whole phenomenon of dependence? Which is it?
it's intelligence that's come into being, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I certainly want to sustain that. I'm not.
You can't sustain
no,
it.
I can't
It is
sustain
there.
it, but I don't want to. I don't want to repeat. I don't want to go back.
Yeah. So it is there.
Now
Now you have to
there.
be quite sure, sir, whether it is the fear of loneliness that is operating or intelligence.
Yeah.
The intelligence which has come after examination, learning, watching, looking. Right?
Yes.
So, which is it now? If it is intelligence, I'll come back to that. If it is fear, then it's bound to escape again.
Well, that's why you're left with the loneliness at the end.
At the end, that's right.
If there's fear. If there's intelligence, I said, then there's no loneliness.
I'm coming. Wait, you're too quick. I won't go into it. You will see it in a minute for yourself. I won't be hurried. You will see it. If it is fear, then I must escape, I must depend, I must go back to the whole game again. I can't do that because intelligence says, don't be silly. You have been through all this. So, now intelligence says, I have still this loneliness left. I still feel lonely. This void, this peculiar sense of isolation. Now what takes place? Intelligence must operate there, not fear. Right? So what is the operation? What is coming out of it?
It's seeing that it's thinking. It's seeing that the mind is in operation. It's seeing that it is thinking. That there's a process in the mind going on at the same time it's experiencing this loneliness.
I don't think that if the mind has done this, I don't think that it will feel the loneliness anymore.
Yes,
feeling the loneliness is the desire to do something about it.
May I put a question? Is this intelligence individual, collective, and it has nothing whatsoever to do with the individuality or the collective?
You're asking the question?
I'm asking the question. Be careful, don't answer it yet. Just look, swallow the pill first and see what it means.
What's the pill again?
That's it. Is this intelligence personal? Right? Because I have learned, I have observed, watched, seen all that, and now there is intelligence. I say, by Jove, I'm intelligent. There is intelligence out of observation which may be personal. Or is it something, nothing to do with personal observation, nothing to do with any collective result, which doesn't belong to those categories at all. I don't know if I'm asking.
I see. It doesn't.
What do you mean collective?
I'm not sure. What do you mean?
Individual.
By collective,
individual
traditional,
talent,
gathered by many people.
In other words, yes. Is it
mass
wisdom or is it personal capacity?
And all the rest of it.
Neither of
or
those two.
It has nothing whatever to do with me or with another.
That's right.
I mean, don't answer me. Don't answer me. Go slow. You get it, sir, what I mean? Huh?
Yes, I do. But I don't see the point.
I'll not show in a minute.
Oh,
Wait. I said, give me a chance. I'm going to say to you why it is important.
Each of those categories are still from the conditioned mind, from the past.
Why did I ask that question, sir?
Because as long
And then...
Well, I would ask the same.
Yes. Why am I asking that question?
Yes.
You tell me. Either I'm a stupid man asking that irrelevant question, or there's something in it.
There is something.
May I? Is it? You're asking it because are you wondering whether this was something that you remembered, or is this something that has happened, that has occurred as a consequence right now?
Yeah. Or because I have the capacity to look, which you may not have, Therefore, I've acquired this intelligence.
Yes.
You follow?
Yes.
Therefore, it depends on capacity, individual capacity. Huh? Therefore, is there such individual thing called individual capacity? Go slow, go slow, go slow.
Could we go back into that again?
You are asking.
I'm not going to budge from this.
Yes. Very interesting.
Could you repeat
Yes.
the statement again, please?
The statement is this, sir. Have you?
Yes.
Can you repeat my statement?
Yes, I can repeat it.
Statement only.
Yes.
That's
This
all.
intelligence which he's talking about, is it personal, individual capacity? Is it mass capacity, mass wisdom, or is it something else entirely? Furthermore, he asks, why am I asking you that question? Having understood, having looked at loneliness and dependence, intelligence has functioned. Is this intelligence a personal capacity, or is this intelligence collective,
Well, I saw
like the reservoir of wisdom,
which I have touched?
yes, which I have touched, like scientific knowledge, or is it something else? And then he says, why am I asking this question? Is it irrelevant?
But then he went further. He said, "Is what I see? I have individual capacity. This is what I want to go into. This is what I want to do.
Is it my own cunning, or is it the cunning of the community, or is it something else?" This is what he's asking.
Right.
In other words, have I cooked up a recipe, or has the community given me a recipe, or is it something different?
I'm asking this question because if it is personal, see what is involved. If it is personal, it's very limited.
And it's again a creation.
Of course. My struggling with the problem, you follow me?
It's cunning then.
Cunning. And all the rest of it. Or I might, because there is a mass of knowledge, information, intuitively touched it and said that is it. Or it hasn't. So this intelligence may be, I think it is, and nothing to do with me, with you, or with anybody.
That's right.
Therefore, proceed from there.
Therefore, isolation is gone for one.
I'm not concerned. I'm not come to that yet.
Yes.
Okay. The question is,
if this intelligence is something I've cooked up or somebody else has cooked up, it's a trick, and it is again just an idea. If it's something else entirely, and it's not my intelligence or collective intelligence, then perhaps the whole point of the thing is in what has been understood. There is only fact, and the seeing of the fact is something independent of capacity, independent of knowledge which has been learned.
If the intelligence doesn't come from the person and doesn't come from the mass, but is, as we say, something else, where does it come from?
Fact.
Yeah, as long as as long as we ask where it comes from, we're going to manufacture something where it came from.
Correct.
See?
Yes, it's just there.
It's observation
Of the
itself.
fact.
It's observation which doesn't belong to anybody.
It's a state that exists that we've just become part of.
So, you see, when I say if it is not personal, if it doesn't belong to anybody, there's no vanity involved in it. I know you're missing the point.
Yes. Therefore, all vanity.
Now, maybe what did it? See what is involved in it. It's not vanity. I can't say it's mine. I am intelligent, right?
Therefore, I can depend on my own intelligence.
No, exactly. See what's.
Therefore, somebody else cannot say either, I'm lost, I'm not intelligent.
No, I'm not. But here, this intelligence is not mine.
That's good.
Right? Right?
That's right.
It's not divine, it's not something superhuman, it's not mine. Therefore, there is nothing to crow about it. Then you get vain about it. It doesn't belong to me, it isn't mine. which has made me, look what has made me, given me a tremendous sense of humility. Right? Right? That is necessary to learn more. Right? If I say it's mine, it stops. That's the reason I asked myself, is it mine or yours?
Or something else.
Or, right?
Yes.
This is neither mine or yours.
Like the raindrop on the roof.
That's it. And there's beauty in that.
Yes.
If it's mine, it becomes ugly.
There's relief in that also.
And it's a tremendous thing, that.
Yes.
Therefore, it's anonymous. Right?
Now,
And it's not now, but that's a tremendous thing I've discovered.
but
Right?
we're still lonely.
Wait. I come to that. I'm coming to that. I've learned a tremendous thing. Right? Which is, that's not mine. Dependence is mine. Intelligence is not mine. We'll keep to that. We'll pursue it. You will see it presently. Love is not mine.
Wow.
So I see what that intelligence. Now that intelligence is facing the problem of loneliness. Right?
Yes.
It's not yours, mine. Therefore, it's a problem, scientific problem, which it is facing. Not I've got to settle it.
Observation is involved.
Intelligence being impersonal code, faced with this problem, which is no longer personal, it's a universal problem. Loneliness, how man is caught in this beastly stuff. So now the mind, intelligence is
The
what?
problem is personal.
Wait, sir, look. So the intelligence says, now what? What is there more in it? Because I'm still lonely. It isn't just evaporated.
So if I've done all this, I can't possibly still be lonely.
Don't say that.
Anybody who's done what you've said today.
There's something more involved in it. I won't. You don't reduce it. So, right? So when there is this loneliness and intelligence, that's all I've left now. Go on, sir. You don't proceed. Intelligence is, what is this stuff? Right? Right? Why do I call it intelligence? And why do I call it loneliness?
Yes. And
wait, I won't stick to it. Why is it called loneliness? Right? Why is it called loneliness?
I mean, because you're still in the loneliness, you're still hoping to
do something
fill
about
it, to put something into it.
Yes.
There's still a motivation when you feel lonely.
Yes, but why? Go on, sir. Explore it. Why? Why do I call it loneliness? Apart from doing anything about it, you follow filling it, running away. Why do I use those words? Or any other word. It doesn't matter. You follow what I mean?
Because it's still separate from that intelligence.
No, that word itself is a movement away from the thing.
Watch it, sir. Why have I called it loneliness?
But you've recognized it. I'm trying to get away from it.
Why? I recognized it, right?
Condemning it.
What is this process of recognition? It goes Unless you go step by step, you won't get into this. Why have I called it loneliness? It means I've recognized it. Now, why did I recognize it?
Because you project it into the future. And
no, just look, why do I recognize you? Because I've seen you yesterday. So I have an image of you. Right? Therefore, when I see this loneliness, and I say it is loneliness, it is a recognition of something that has happened yesterday.
Yes. Or has been described.
So I am looking at this new thing with the old eyes. Right? And do watch it.
I'm watching.
Go into it. Don't move from it. I'm watching with my old eyes and therefore recognize it. Which means, why do I recognize it? Because of the past experience of it, and also by recognizing it that way, I strengthen it by putting it into the past again. Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I've reduced it to a word, to a symbol.
And swallowed it again.
Yes, I've made it into pill form.
Now, can I look at it? Follow it a little bit. Can the mind look at it? Not with recognition, but just to look at it. Right? Without the image. Right? Can I look at something without the image? Can I look at this loneliness without any thought, description, image, all the recognizing process? Right? If I can, is it lonely?
No.
Therefore, intelligence has found. You follow?
Yeah. You've preached the guy.
That's all.
On the other side.
That's it. So, when the intelligence has gone into it to that extent, so it has wiped it away. It's not a trick. That's all. You follow?
It's beautiful.
I've got to work at it. So the mind, which was dependent, has got this intelligence, and therefore this intelligence is free, not the mind is free. I don't know if this intelligence is free.
That's right.
Now with that intelligence I can look at everything. My sex, my money, my idiosyncrasies, you follow? Therefore one experience, gone into it completely to the very end. I don't know if you're right? Right.
Yes.
Of course.